listening to Power Producers Shop Talk, where we are refining and redefining the sales game by equipping you with the tools you need to differentiate yourself in the marketplace.
Well, it's like when we audit the mod with Logic and give them the action items that they're going to use to lower their total cost of risk.
Tactical skills that will help you provide deliverable value to your clients and prospects.
Technology is not an expense, it's an investment. Look at what Think HR has done for our clients and even our team. It's an amazing product, and I'm so thankful we have that.
And action items that you can provide to take your prospects and clients to the next level.
Things are changing for us in 2021. Not all big business anymore. Now that we have CoverWallet on our team, it's amazing that we're going to be able to write small business profitably.
This is Power Producer Shop Talk. Production redefined. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to Power Producers Shop Talk, where the only thing Kyle can put on next is going to be more patriotic is a full-blown Captain America suit. I can't wait to see it. The shield is my favorite part.
Yeah, I mean, if I had one of those, it would be on next episode for sure.
Well, I can tell you I had my third and fourth kids because I wore a Captain America outfit on a Friday night one time. Well, no, I'm just kidding. Anyhow. So let's continue talking about what we talked about last episode of Shop Talk, where we were getting into a little bit about these drivers and the driver situation. And I think there's a couple things. So we were talking about driver selection criteria and how important that is. But one of the things that I didn't bring up is sometimes you got to be a little bit more forceful with your client. Sometimes you want what's right for them more than they want what's right for them because they just don't get it. They understand what revenue coming in the front door looks like, but it seems like an awful short-sighted decision so many times that they want to bring in, somebody that's such a bad driver. There's ramifications to that too, though. I mean, it's not just that you're bringing in a bad driver. If you end up having that driver that you lobbied to get added, or let's just say that you brought them in and never had them added to the policy, and you let them drive your vehicle. When you move from like negligence to gross negligence, it's a pretty significant move that's going to cost you everything at that point, right? Because I can promise you, if somebody were to come in to the agency and subpoena records over email conversations or anything that I have given in terms of advice to a client who didn't listen to that advice and subsequently did exactly what I told them not to do, they're going to have a problem. Because I have a record of making those recommendations to everybody. And I don't want to see, my clients get into a bad spot, but it's really important that you let people know that sometimes you have to argue with them to give them the best advice possible for their business. And there's been times where I've been sarcastic about it and just said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I was under the impression you hired me because you wanted me to give you the best risk management advice that you could get to grow your business profitably." Well,
sometimes people get in like these things where they'll like my wife, people on her team will ask her questions all the time of like advice or like how they should handle a particular situation, and then she gives them her advice on that, and they just do the complete opposite. And a lot of times people ask the question or ask for advice or help in a situation hoping that they are going to hear the answer that they want to hear from you, and when they don't, they just continue to do what they wanted to do all along. My sister-in-law does this all the time.
Relationship advice is the worst.
Yeah, right. And that's a perfect example, man, because that's probably where it happens the most, honestly.
Don't talk to that Kyle Houck.
He's a bad total boy. Red flag. Yeah. And then,
Next thing you know, your wife marries you.
Next thing you know, yeah, exactly. You've got a 2-year-old and whatever. But, I don't know, man. I wonder, like, what?
You catch the 3:30 from San Diego. Two nude people jump out of your closet.
I think I don't know, man. It's a little bit weird. Like you've got certain people that just think that, that's not going to happen to me, or I haven't had any claims, so we're going to be good. Like I don't have to worry about this. Like, and they just want to risk it. But like you can tell them on the front end what the risks are and what could happen, and they're gonna just think that, oh, they're just trying to scare me to get me to, buy more insurance or do this or that. And I mean, I don't know how you get around that sometimes. I mean, sometimes people are just stuck in that mindset, and there may not be anything that you can do or say that's going to get them out of that.
There you go.
I don't know, man.
I don't understand. Like, I just have a hard time understanding how you couldn't have your business's best interest in mind. I mean, for me, it's not even about the money that it could cost me as much as it is that I've got other families that are depending on me to make the right decisions.
Right. And with something like a driver, like it's not like adding that driver to the policy or whatever is going to cost them a bunch of money. It's not going to change the premium. Like, it's not going to...
Hey, here's a little litmus test for you, people. Look at that driver. Ask him to send over a recent photo. Would you let this person stay with your kids? Like, look at him. If you wouldn't let him babysit your kids, why are you hiring him to drive? I mean, it's true. Like, I actually gave that advice to a guy in Killing Commercial one time who was calling on an auto dealership, and he said they really need EPLI, and the owner won't understand it. The owner doesn't understand why I think they need it, specifically third-party endorsement and everything else. I'm like, when you're sitting in his office, I can assure you, if it's in like any other car dealership, you're going to see the entire lot from his office, right? He said, yeah. I said, get there early. Find the shadiest guy that you can find that's pimping cars on the lot. I'm talking teal sport coat, extra wide tie, like one floppy pair of shoes away from being a clown. Find that guy. And when you're in your meeting, point to him and say, would you let that guy babysit your children for a long weekend? Right. And if the answer is no, then why don't you think you need third-party EPLI? Because he's probably hitting on every soccer mom that comes on the lot, making inappropriate remarks or whatever else.
Sure.
Sometimes you have to use the old shock and awe like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do.
But I think the big thing is having the driver selection criteria is one part. But the other thing is too many people are pencil whipping fleet safety programs and fleet management programs. They say, oh, yeah, we have that because they think it's going to get them credits on their auto insurance. And in many cases, it probably will. Or it could be the difference between them getting written or not getting written, or the difference between being in, the premier company versus the standard company or whatever, like we deal with sometimes with auto owners. Could be a difference, but they need to be actually executing on this stuff. And that's the thing. Like, you need to have training for these people. You need to let them know. But you can't train if you don't have a standard and you don't have a company policy that surrounds this stuff. Right?
Yep.
You just can't do it. And so the first thing any of these companies needs to do is they need to have a formal fleet safety program in place. And part of that program is, guess what? Driver selection criteria, just like we talked about on the last episode. But the other piece of it is you need to have a disciplinary policy around it. And I mean, we can talk about training and things like that, and that's what we'll get into in the next episode. But as far as like the disciplinary policy, you have to let people know what the consequences are going to be. This is really kind of a black and white issue to me. There's no real gray area there, except I will tell you that I have an account that has the GPS stuff in the cabs of the trucks, and they were driving on the top shelf of the crosstown, and it had them flagged as running a red light on Adamo Drive below.
Ah, that's interesting.
Which, if you think about it, I don't know that I've never really thought about it, but we have the double-decker highway here that leads from Brandon into the city, and GPS I don't necessarily think takes into consideration that you're off the ground that much. So,
obviously not. That's interesting. That has never crossed my mind before.
Yeah, and the way we were able to prove it and get it and keep the guy from being in hot water with my client was, they showed that there was at that exact time on the Sun Pass, we were able to show that he was there, and Adamo is not a toll road, so there's no way that he was on Adamo Drive and triggered the Sun Pass charge, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously
dash cams too would erase that situation.
And no red light ticket ever came in. Right, that was the other thing. He just never got a ticket, but I mean, you're not going to wait to ream out.
I got one on Adamo one time, right on 50th.
There you go.
In Adamo.
It's a hotbed for rebel red light runners like yourself.
100%.
But so you have to have the standard, you have to have the policy, you have to outline consequences and have progressive discipline in place. You know, I've seen some really cool stuff too, though. I've seen some of my clients that have had deals where they do like a safe, like clean driver incentive.
That's what I was going to ask about.
It wasn't just like for safe driving though. It was also a really good component of it was them keeping their vehicle clean. Like they had to have their vehicle clean inside and
yes,
out.
especially contractors. Oh my God, I've seen some over our favorite plumbing client, and
I have so many, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, right. Well, right. Like the inside, it was actually a vehicle that was in an accident. Inside of this vehicle looked like a bomb went off. It was.
I would love to get a CSI light, one of those black lights from CSI. Horrible.
I don't know that that would be bad.
Just dried cheesy gordita crunch in the carpet. I mean, that's the thing though. If you think about it, I've seen this all the time. These contractor vehicles are an absolute train wreck. Like clipboards laying on the dashboard and everything, but that stuff can contribute to an accident. You hit
totally.
The brakes,
I mean, you got something sliding around and you're trying to grab it, and then all of a sudden you rear end somebody or whatever.
Right.
Like anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, people? For those of you listening, I am the hall pass monitor when it comes to interstate driving for my clients. If I'm on the interstate and I catch one of my client companies texting and driving or calling, I will immediately call dispatch.
Or weaving in and out of traffic like a maniac.
I'll call and report them 100% of the time.
Why not? I mean,
hey, I'm trying to make them better, and I'm trying to protect my own loss ratio at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think that you have to have that. But the incentive program is good because you'll actually save yourself money by doing that, and it doesn't need to be a huge deal. But I had a client, have a client that does that where it's a $250 deal a month. Like the driver, they have to check all the boxes, and it's not easy to check all the boxes.
Right.
But if you do, you get a bonus of $250.
So, I mean, that's good. I like that.
I don't like driving around in a filthy truck anyhow, man. You know what I mean? I mean, the kind of like some of that is you're operating like Pigpen, man.
It's like my car. I mean, there's Cheetos laying around everywhere in the back seat, a bunch of like Cheerios, cups, all Nash's shit just laying around. At least finally cleaned it up.
Yeah, the kids screwed
That's
that
a total
up
nightmare. But I think the incentives work a lot better with the same particular client I just mentioned. I am trying to get something like that as it pertains to the general liability, where they're going out and making sure that they're taking pictures and documenting everything on the front end. And it's really like it should be insanely easy. It's like maybe 3 or 4 check boxes, and they've got to take some pictures of the job before and after. Like they should be doing that regardless, but it's hard to get these contractors to do stuff when they don't feel like it's got any impact on them. And I think that the incentive way is the way to do that. I mean, if you're going to try to punish people, what would even a punishment be? Going back to the driving. Okay, so they get in an accident or they run a red light or whatever. Like what's the disciplinary action that's fair?
Most of the time you call them in and you do a verbal warning to them about their driving, address what the issue is, maybe run them through one of the segments of training.
Yeah.
One of the segments of training that pushes back against that. Or, you know, the other thing is, second time it becomes more formal. It's a written warning, you know, like, hey, look, we've discussed this. And keep in mind, this is not us counseling people who have caused bodily injury or property damage. We're using the information that's gained from telematics to get this information and have these conversations. So we're trying to avoid the horrible accident from happening. This hasn't cost the company money yet. So the second one's a written warning, a little more forceful. The third one, we're going to can them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, 3 strikes, you're out. I mean, like that's absurd at this point.
A lot of places, it's 2 strikes and you're out that are real serious about it.
For sure. But I do think that the incentive way is the better route. There's got to be disciplinary action regardless. But if people aren't following your program and the stuff that you've put in place, I think that it's better using the incentive method to get them on track. I mean, Think about like when I was in high school as a kid, like when my parents would tell me not to do something and I was going to be grounded, like I still did it.
I think but that brings up a valid point, because if there is not and that's why I think that it's important that you have a defined keyword progressive disciplinary policy, right? Because using your example, I'm just going to sit here. I'm smart enough to sit back and say, okay, I really want to go hang out with everybody at my buddy's house with all of the girls that are going to be there while his parents are going to be out of town. There's going to be 5 kegs, a DJ.
Yeah, some jazz cabbage.
I'm willing to, the devil's lettuce. I'm willing to trade that.
To be grounded for a week or two.
To be grounded for a week. Like, I'm quantifying, grounding me for a week. I understand with good behavior and parole, I'm probably out by Wednesday.
They may not even find out, so there's a chance I could get off scot-free.
Correct. Yeah, like that's and I think that's the way that people think.
Yeah, no, totally. But like, if it's kind of flipped around the other way, where you're getting some sort of incentive or reward for doing the right thing, then maybe it makes it worth it for you.
Yeah. Or if you've or that the definition is, okay, well, this is the second time you've done this, and now it's not that you're just going to be grounded for a week.
Sure.
You're going to be grounded for a week, and we're going to take the keys to your car so you're not able to drive it anymore, or whatever else. Or with Ethan, dude, if you unplug the PlayStation. We're going to take away
your roundup. We are going to.
If you take the PlayStation out of Ethan's room.
Oh, yeah?
You would think that you're Satan himself going in there. He goes nuts. I don't even know that he plays the games. I feel like the games are in demo mode, and he just thinks he's playing them, pushing buttons, because it doesn't seem like the people on the screen are corresponding with the amount of movement that I see from him.
Hey, man.
But
whatever keeps him entertained,
All I know is that on MLB The Show 2022, if Kevin Kiermaier goes yard, the whole house knows about it.
Oh, man, dude, I have not played an MLB baseball game in probably 15 years, but they used to be awesome. Like Ken Griffey's Slugfest, holy smokes, one of the best video games of all time.
MLB The Show is a fantastic game. Big fan. All right, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the kind of training programs you should have in place on the next episode, and I'm going to give you practical tips that any agency can use to get this started so you don't have to spend a bunch of money. See you next week.
You've been listening to Power Producers Shop Talk. You can follow us at the Power Producers Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our commercial insurance training course at killingcommercial.com or visit Amazon to pick up a copy of our international best-selling book, The Extra 2 Minutes.